This is the Four-Man Rush. Hello, Panther fans, and welcome to the Four-Man Rush. I'm your host, Timmy V.O., with the three gentlemen, Kevin, Larry, and Will. And we're here to talk to you about what's going on in the Panther Nation and with our Carolina Panthers. So let's jump into it and go through the agenda for today's lineup. First, we're going to talk about the Panthers being ranked 31st, right? Ranked 31st in defending empty formations, right? And what needs to change. Okay, so if we're going to be dealing with a lot of passing quarterbacks, and there are some darn good ones out there, we need to figure out what we're going to do about that. We'll talk about that today. The Panthers continuing to be one of the most zone-heavy teams, and would you like to see more man coverage implemented in our defense? What to expect from J.Bradberry, number 24 in his contract year, and OTA updates. OTAs have been underway for a little while, and we're going to jump on that too. So let's get right to it. So Panthers are ranked 31st in defending empty formations, and that comes from one Stephen Ruiz, NFL writer at For the Win. And we'll start off with Larry on this one. Larry, being 31st in defending empty formations, what the hell needs to change, man? That's crazy. That's like dragging the bottom.
Well, I think one issue leads into the other. We also mentioned that we still remain one of the most zone heavy teams. When you face elite quarterbacks like your Matt Ryans, your Drew Breeses, they pick through the zone all the time. They like to come out in empty sets because it gives them mismatch opportunities, especially when New Orleans runs that rub route. You're sitting in the zone, people get confused on who to pick up. So I think we need to see a little bit more man coverage. I think we need to match up better with teams, utilize our players' strength. If you look at J.Bradberry and Dante Jackson, they both excel in man coverage. They've learned how to play zone. They've learned how to get acclimated in Ron Rivera's scheme, but we don't always tend to play to their strengths. I think you put those guys in man a little bit more, let them get physical up on the line. Those empty sets will be a non-factor because you got guys that have athletic ability like your Eric Reeds and your Luke Kuechly's that can fly around and make plays for us. But we got to be able to man up on the outside better.
Absolutely. Will, how do you look at the situation being 31st? What we need to do?
Well, you look at the report. It says the Panthers ran cover 2 primarily against the 5-wide set. So first, what is cover 2? You got 2 deep safeties, each taking one half of the field away, and you got 5 underneath defenders for the underneath zones. So really in a cover 2, you're trying to take away the short, quick passes. So now let's look at on offense what you're doing in a 5-wide set. You don't have that back in there to help pass protect, so your quarterback's got to get the ball out quickly. So what Ron Rivera is doing, he's saying, okay, when I see the empty set, I'm going to play cover 2 because I'm going to force the quarterback to throw short, quick passes into the teeth of my defense. But the question is, can we force short, quick passes? And you can't do that with no pass rush.
True.
So, I think the scheme isn't as much of a problem as, the pass rush, getting hands up, batting balls down, things like that. And I also think with the cover 2, when your pass rush isn't arrived there, now you're putting strain on your safeties to cover deep halves of the field. And that's kind of the weakest link of your defense last season. So I think, I don't have a problem with the scheme if that's what Ron wants to run. He's historically one of the more zone-heavy coaches. That's how he learned how to coach defense.
True.
But I just think no zone defense will work unless you have a pass rush to complement it.
Well done. Yeah, the Panthers, as most Panther fans know, we were huge in zone blitzing. Up until, most recently, zone blitz was our thing, and yeah. But with the rate, we're ranked 31st, Kevin. What the hell, man?
I mean, from my vantage point, when you think of empty formation, typically the quarterback is usually in shotgun. Rarely is he under center with nobody back there with him. And as has already been stated by Will here, typically, you're thinking that you can get to the quarterback because he's only has his 5 linemen protecting him. But in our case, we just wasn't able to. And when I'm looking at this graphic here, I'm noticing some things here that kind of show what works and what doesn't work. For example, the team that defended the best against empty formation were the Rams. They played cover. They played cover one. That was their favorite coverage against the empty formation. For those who don't know what cover one is, it's primarily your man coverage. You got one deep safety in the middle of the field, and everybody else is locking horns across the board. That's straight up man to man. I got this guy, you got that guy, you got that guy, and we got somebody just in case somebody gets bombed. And when I look at the top 10 teams that had success defending empty formation, cover one was used 6 times by 6 teams. So, it just goes to show that, man coverage is being proven to be the most effective way to defend against these empty formations. And, I'm also taking a look here at, different variations of it here. Certain percentages, like for example, with the Rams, they went single high with the cover one 64% of the time that they were using, and they used a double high 38% of the time. So, teams are either going man with one safety or with 2. And, when you look at the Panthers, I mean, that cover 2 is, without that pressure, it's just not going to be effective. But, again, when you look at the strengths of our secondary players here, with the video that was put out by Will Harris, and y'all go to YouTube to check it out on J.Bradberry, is Bradberry does his best work when he's able to lock up play man-to-man. Dante Jackson does his best work when he's able to lock up, go man-to-man. I mean, the guys that we have, competing, Kavon Seymour, Corn Elder. Now, the only more zone coverage guy that we got is going to be Ross Cockrell. And, he seems to play better in the zone. He can play some man, but he just seemed to perform better in the zone. So, again, we just got to be able to put athletes on the field that can not only understand the concepts, the passing concepts, but be able to disrupt the timing pattern enough for our rush to get to the quarterback.
So what I'm gathering is a combination of scheme and athletic skill set. I know in our secondary we've been kind of slow over the past couple of seasons, especially at the safety position, and having Golden back there and Mr. Reed. It seems like we're going to be able to be athletic enough to have a single high situation and run possibly another. Not another, but more man. Is that what you guys are saying?
Maybe more than usual, but I think Ron Rivera is not going to change who he is overnight, and all of a sudden we're going to become the Kansas City Chiefs or the New England Patriots. Just keep in mind, I'm going to off the top of my head, Pro Football Focus also does man versus zone percentages. And the number one team in 2017 that did man coverage was the Kansas City Chiefs. And they ran man coverage only 43% of the time. So even the man-heavy teams aren't, they still got majority zone going out of there. So I just think, in order for a zone to be effective, especially with how often the Panthers run it, you need a pass rush to complement it. And I think that's just what was lacking the most last season.
Indeed.
Yeah, man, I agree 100%. To really run the zone, you got to have a pass rush. And we noticed that we were also top 10 in pressures, but we weren't getting home. So that means that, a guy like Julius Peppers will get to move a quarterback off his spot. But you have those nimble quarterbacks and those pretty crafty ones like your Russell Wilsons and, your Drew Brees that were able to, even though they stepped off the spot, they were able to move around in the pocket, manipulate it, and still find the open man. So whether you're in zone or man, you still have an issue if you got guys running around the secondary for too long. So we got to actually start getting home, and it shouldn't really matter if we run in zone or man at that point.
Indeed, yeah. Complete the mission. Kevin, do you want to add anything else before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, just one more thing is the fact that, the NFL, the rules have trended for this to be all about offense and is definitely favoring the pass heavy teams. And when you look at, just who we playing in our division, you know, honestly, Breeze, Ryan, and even Jameis Winston, took turns lighting us up last year. And, it's just something that we just gotta put more emphasis on trusting our player strength to match up against these empty formations, because when these empty formations come out, it could be a variation. It could be 5 wide receivers, or it could be 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end. So this is the part where we're hoping Rivera's learning to play chess instead of checkers, like with these other coaches here. So no matter what type of personnel that we see the opposing team, run out, to the huddle, we got to have players that are able to match up with them no matter where they go and still be within our scheme. And I just think that, with Rivera's play calling, for what I saw from the last few games that he took over, I noticed that we started trending more to man concepts. And I would just like to see when it's third down, when it's time to get off the field, that, depending on down the distance, that, we're locking horns and we are negating, the offense from converting. And I just think that with the between the play calling and the players that we have acquired, I definitely can see the Panthers not being 31st in 2019.
Yeah, that brings up another point about, what are you doing with a spread formation or an empty formation? You're spreading out the defense. So the Panthers, notoriously being a base 4-3 team, having 3 linebackers, you got to keep in mind, are we going to play more nickel and dime packages to match the speed that's on the field when teams go 5 wide?
Yeah, and like Larry mentioned, and I believe most of you guys mentioned, getting to that quarterback and disrupting the timing and everything is going to be huge. So, what we got in the draft and what Rivera is going to be calling is going to be very interesting, because, it seemed like Rivera had those guys playing at a high level when he took over the DC helm. So stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned. All right, so talking about coverage and things of that nature, let's jump on this James Bradberry contract year. According to his peers, Bradberry's looked at one of the top lockdown corners in a man-to-man situation, by a lot of folks. So I know, Will, you've done a in-depth breakdown of this individual, so we'll come to you last. Larry, what do you think about Bradberry in his contract year? You think he's going to step his game up, or is it going to be the same Bradberry we've seen over the years so far?
I have one of the more unpopular opinions of Bradberry, but at the same time, the numbers don't lie. The numbers show you he's been pretty consistent. He's one of the better coverage corners in the league. But my biggest issue with him is, being able to take his game to the next step. He got thrown to the fire. This man has been the starter in this league since day one. So he has plenty of game reps, plenty of game experience, plenty of opportunities to improve. In a lot of parts of his game, you do see improvement. You've seen him be man-on-man covering better. You've seen him be sitting back in the zone 10 yards off the ball, but be able to close out faster. He did a great job of that last year, closing in on plays better. Definitely is a good tackler, but the issue that I have is, pretty much the one that everyone else has. The guy doesn't make plays on the ball like you'd want him to see. There's opportunities where he can go ahead and get a pick six, or he can go ahead and just get a pass deflection. I think Kevin mentioned that he was top 5 in deflections, which is fine, but I still see quarterbacks taking advantage of him because he doesn't turn his head around. So a lot of those back shoulder throws, he's susceptible to those. The double moves that Julio does, he's susceptible if his eyes are completely on Julio and not being able to play the ball. So I think that's going to be, the biggest room for improvement. But at the end of the day, he's still a top 15 corner in the league, in my opinion. So that does garner a paycheck, whether it be with us or someone else. I would just like to see him take that next step, make some plays on the ball. Show us the guy that he can be. That's what I want to see from him. I want to see him improve, and I think the new secondary coach can help us out with that as well.
Great point. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, Larry definitely, ended his part and allowed me to open up with mine what I was thinking. You got to think about it. Bradberry was drafted in 2016, post Josh Norman departure and all the expectations. I mean, from wearing Norman's number 24 and quote unquote being the guy deemed to replace him. I mean, you got to look at all the things that he's had to deal with here. Talking about now what his fourth different defensive play caller, that he's had. This is also going to be his second, third different position coach. So, true, there are things that Bradberry can do to definitely improve on his own, but I also would like to just put him in a consistent environment as well. I would love to, see, him be able to stay with us and get a few years with, Perry Fewell as his defensive back coach. I want to see with Ron Rivera calling plays and coverages, are we going to be, playing a little bit more tighter up instead of always further back? These are the type of things that I'm looking forward to seeing that I think will allow, the best of Bradberry to come. And also, to be honest and fair, since he's been here, we also haven't really had no serious type of pass rush that would allow him to take advantage of, more opportunities to jump on the ball. Now, yeah, he got to turn that big ball head around more. I definitely think that will be a point of emphasis because, when I've been doing my film breakdown on our next project where we're talking about safety coverages, I noticed 3 or 4 times, had he turned his head around, boom, the ball was right there, and this was like, early part of the season. So the opportunities are there. I think it's a contract year. We all know that a majority of players tend to excel their contract year. I've been a Bradberry fan from day one. I like the fact that he's quiet, but he let his play speak for him. We're talking about our divisional rivals have 3 of the top 10 wide receivers in the league with Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, and Mike Evans. Mm-hmm. And you look back at 2018 season, Bradberry had them in his hip pocket. I mean, none of them averaged more than 50 yards between the 3 of them with Bradberry on them. I mean, come on now, look how they torch everybody else. Julio Jones gets his 5th year of at least 1,400 yards. I don't think he had 100 yards receiving the 2 times he played against Bradberry last year. So the talent is definitely there. I just think him getting some consistent coaching and a consistent pass rush, I think that the best of him is ahead of him.
Indeed. I hope you're right, Kev. I hope you're right. So, Will, Bradberry expert, go ahead and seal the deal on this, man. What's up?
Like what Mike Evans said, James Bradberry is the best press corner in the NFL. What you got to realize, playing press coverage is just one skill set to be in a cornerback. That's like saying I'm the best between the tackles runner in the NFL. Well, how do you run outside? How do you catch the ball? How do you pass block? How do you do this, and that? So being the best press corner, teams see that. What are we going to do? I know you're good at press, so I'm not going to let you press my guy. I'm going to run a bunch formation, have my guy off the line of scrimmage. Now Bradberry can't press. Now what you going to do? I'm going to motion my guy around, play him off the line of scrimmage, force Bradberry to play in the slot. I'm going to run rub concepts, where I'll take my big 200-pound tight end and we'll run crossing routes, knock Bradberry off, kind of like an illegal pick. Now his press coverage is no good. So when you're just good at one thing, you become so much easier to scheme for. So I just think with Bradberry, he's mastered that aspect of being a cornerback. Now he's got to take it to the next level and become more consistent in off-zone coverage. He did. We saw glimpses of it where he was able to break on the ball and not allow those easy underneath routes. We saw played well in he does well in run support. We see those things. But I think the next thing he needs to master is, like we said, the ball skills. That's what he has to do in order to become a complete cornerback and justify that contract. Because what you'll notice when you watch him in press coverage even, the quarterback will throw the ball to the wide receiver with Bradberry on him like glue because he's banking on his wide receiver catching a 50-50 ball, because I believe my wide receiver will do a better job of attacking the football than James Bradberry. So I don't care how well he's covered. So I just think, it's good to know that he's the best press corner in the league, but there's just so many more aspects to being a cornerback that he needs to master to justify such a huge payday.
Yeah, if he puts his eyes on the ball more, right, and just be a little more aggressive and not worry so much, I think he'll make that turn in terms of ball skills and compiling more interceptions. I think that's probably what's just keeping him from being that top tier type of corners, like you guys mentioned, the ball skills. If he has some interceptions to go along with his jamming capabilities and shutting down the best receivers in the NFC South, we might have ourselves a gem, because we all know what Dante can do. Dante's a dog.
I do understand that he was targeted a lot as well. I think he was one of the top corners as far as being targeted. But I think that reason is what Will mentioned. If I'm a quarterback, and I actually spoke to my high school quarterback about this, and he gave me his little thoughts on J.Bradberry. He was basically saying, if I'm a quarterback, I know this guy is going to be in my receiver's hip pocket. I'm still going to take my chances and attack him because I can believe that my receiver knows the ball is coming and Bradbury's not going to turn around. Because if you stare down Dante Jackson, he's going to make you pay and create turnovers.
True.
So I think we'll be complete when you're a quarterback and you got to second guess throwing to either one of them. You know what I mean? So that's the most key thing for Bradbury is just to improve on the ball skills. Everybody's not going to be a Deion Sanders or a Champ Bailey where they're just picking off everything.
Right.
But still, if a quarterback is going to pick on you, you got to make him pay more times than not. And that's what I'm waiting for. And that's what will need to happen for me to give him a contract extension.
That's what's up.
And if he gets a contract extension, y'all realize J.Bradberry will be the first cornerback to get a contract extension from the Panthers since Chris Gamble.
Been a long time coming.
Yeah, and I mean, and Gamble was drafted back in 2004. He stayed with the team, up till 2012. He was one of the first casualty caps of the Gettleman era.
Yeah.
As far as getting us out the hole, because we was like negative $16 million over the cap, and those old Herney contracts back in the day had us all bewildered. But yeah, I definitely, it definitely would be encouraging to see, a product like Bradberry, come back here and I got no problems him getting a big payday here if his talent and his resume show it. Now, obviously, we know that the market will dictate. I forgot that cornerback down in Miami that just resigned and got a big deal, but Bradberry's thinking about this could be his big payday here. I definitely can, I'm definitely pulling for the guy, and I hope he's a Panther for a majority, if not all, of his career.
You're here.
Hey, what you got to realize is what Bradberry does to be able to shadow an opponent's number one wide receiver, whether he's in the slot, whether he's on either side, whether he's going in motion or wherever he lines up. I mean, that's not a lot of corners are able to do that. When you watch, there's maybe 15 or so, give or take, corners that are able to do that week after week. So having a guy that's able to do that is definitely a luxury. I think Dante, once he gets coming into his second year, I think you'll see a lot more of that with him as well. But, how nice would it be to have two guys with that type of ability?
That'd be beautiful, especially if Ron's, trying to confuse the quarterback and bring that heat. That's going to make the quarterback hold on just a little bit longer to hopefully we get that sack in there,
Yeah, and I'm of the mind frame. Oh, I'm sorry, Larry. I was about to mention something you had stated. I'm of the mind frame, when we were speaking about Dante Jackson, I mean, yeah, he definitely, did a respectable job as an outside corner, but could his maximum skill and value be playing that nickel slot because pretty much now your nickel is the new starter. There's no more 3 linebacker, 4 linebacker, depending on if you run a 3-4 to 4-3. Linebacker has been removed. And, Larry had mentioned last week that, it would be ideal that if Ross Cotwell could lock up the outside corner position and we can slide, Dante over to nickel, like like how premium would that be? And the fact that when you look at a majority of our defensive backs on the team, I mean, the fact that, like you said, Bradberry can play outside and he moves around in the slot. Dante can do the same thing. Um, you know, we've yet to see what Cockrell can do. Um, Seymour, he's played inside, outside. So, we were talking about Gaulden being, both safety and nickel. So when you can take different players and on any given deep formation by the offense can line them up in different places, that's going to give that quarterback that hesitation that Rivera is seeking by, because it's hard to game plan when you don't know specifically where this guy may line up one play to the next. Sure, there may be certain tendencies, but just the fact that, like I say, if Ron really learns how to play chess, you could see us getting back to that defensive nightmare where we're getting to the quarterback now because we done created some hesitation, not only with the speed off our edges, but the fact that you don't know where our DB is going to line up from one formation to the next.
What they need to do, just look at Dante Jackson on the roster, cross out CB, and just put DB. He can play outside corner. He can play nickel corner. I seen him line up at free safety when we go double tight.
Yep.
He could play all the positions in the secondary. So why pigeonhole him into being outside corner? Pigeonhole him and say he's a nickel. He's a DB. He can play everywhere. And I think that's one of the biggest assets of having a player like that is, we can have him at free safety, and he's probably got as good as range as anybody on the roster right now.
Mm-hmm.
So just call him a defensive back and watch him go to work.
I agree 100%. And when you have that ability, from one of your corners, all that does is open up opportunities for everybody else. So if I'm looking at the roster now, Bradberry's got a spot on lock. You can put Dante wherever you want him to. That just tells me that Seymour, Cockrell, and Elder have to go out and earn the reps. Whether they're going to be a nickel, whether they're going to be an outside corner, they know that they got to fight for reps and they're going to get opportunities because that position flexibility that you get with Dante, with being able to put him wherever you want to put him at. So these guys better find out where their strengths are and try to take advantage in camp because we need somebody. It can't just be Bradberry and Dante out there. Somebody's going to come out and take a spot. Like I was telling you guys the past couple of episodes, that's what I'm most excited to see. I want to see how that's going to unfold.
Yeah, I know this was one corner that we got from the Giants. What's the gentleman's name? Ross or something?
Yeah, Ross Cockrell.
Yeah, I mean, if he's healthy, coming in, he was a decent corner.
Yeah, you saw he played nickel a game I saw. I think it was against the Rams. I mean, he looked good there. I think he's more comfortable on the outside, but he's played both positions, and that's what's important. So he can just come in and play anywhere he wants. But I mean, he's a good corner. He's got good instincts, good ball skills, recognizes routes, very quickly processes things very quickly. He's just got a good skill set for a zone cornerback. He struggles a bit in man press coverage. I think that's why Pittsburgh moved on from him, and he ended up in New York in the first place. And when the Giants wanted to play more man coverage, they let him go too because he just wasn't in their plans. But, as a guy coming in to play nickel, I mean, we're a zone-heavy scheme anyway, so he, theoretically, he should fit right into what we do as a defense.
True that. That's right, Panther fans. Only the four-man rush can be that detailed, I'm telling you. All right, so let's move on to the OTAs. These guys been flying around over the past couple of days. I'm sure a lot of you Panther fans have seen the photos. Everybody flexing, getting their grind on, except for Cam's not throwing the ball. But that's a whole nother story. Gentlemen, what OTA updates do you have for Panther Nation? Let's start with Kevin on this one.
Yeah, well, as far as me with the OTA so far, and for those who don't know, and we just like to make sure that we remind you that the Foreman Rush educates. OTA stands for Organized Training Activities, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, this is like summer school for the players. This is where they get into the playbook, learning the calls, learning the audibles. This is where you get the classroom session, and then you go out on the field and walk through it, go through it, and eventually start running plays with it. So, with that being said, so far with OTAs, we're seeing that Rivera is really sticking to what he's been saying all offseason about position flexibility. We're seeing guys, lined up in multiple spots. We're seeing, lots of, 3-4 philosophy fronts, whether it's base, whether it's nickel. And it's definitely creating a nice buzz of interest, not only for us fans to like to watch, but amongst the players as well. I believe Kawan Short had just said the other day, it's like he's out there now, he's seeing all the speed that's been added. It's just like, wow, it's really going to be a race to get to the quarterback. And when you get a guy like him feeling that type of way, I like to think that that's going to help him elevate his already stellar play to another level, because, if, he don't want to be left out, of the sack party, and if we can get the 2015 version of Short back, my God, it's going to be a long day for opposing quarterbacks. I'm trying to tell you. But yeah, I definitely like the fact that players are being moved around. Like I saw where today they had Darrell Williams during the installation period line up at left tackle. Everybody been saying, oh, he's probably going to get guard, but it's just nice to know that, as we like to do with John Masco, he's just moving player rounds and getting everybody a chance to, see how they perform and how they do. So, so far from OTAs, that's what I'm seeing so far.
Will, what have we seen so far from OTAs, man?
Well, one thing I'm really excited to see is that they seem to be pretty high on Rashawn Golden at safety. But I think, in T-shirt and shorts and processing things, I think that's really his time to shine, because the strength coming out of Tennessee is a high IQ player. So I think now that he's starting to process things better and understand coverages, understand route concepts, let's see how he does in helmet and pads going full live in preseason. But it's good to see, because last year he didn't really have a good OTA session. He was still learning a new position and coming along very slow. So it's really good to see him, in his second year starting to step up and process things a lot. And then Ron Rivera just has a lot of good things to say about him, how he's always asking questions, always trying to know why things are done a certain way, watch his film a lot. So I just like the habits he's showing. And that's what you got to look for in helmet and shorts, things like that. How quickly are these guys processing things?
Yep.
And another thing I find interesting, I think the 3-4 makeover is more significant than a lot of us originally thought. It might even be our base defense coming in this year. So that's something I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this summer, is whether it's going to be a case of a situational pass rush like last year, or whether we're going to be a full-blown 30-front team. And then, of course, the rookies, Brian Burns out there flying around looking like a freak athlete. So, I mean, it's just so far, it's hard to kind of trying to visualize tweets and put them in your mind as to what's going on. But, I like what I've seen, what I'm reading about so far.
Larry?
A couple things stood out to me. For one, whether it's a 3-4 or 4-3, you notice that Luke Kuechly isn't missing a beat at all. He was making flash plays today, had a couple of interceptions. That's good to see that he's taking that adjustment pretty well. One thing, I pay attention around the league. I don't just pay attention to the Panthers. I like to see what my rivals are doing. I like to see what, cross-conference guys are doing. One thing that stands out about our team is the leadership. As you look at the attendance at OTAs, all your core guys are there. Cam is there. Olsen is there. Kuechly is there. McCaffrey is there. You got a new guy in Matt Paradis that's going to be the leader of our offensive line. He's present. That, to me, is key. Like, what we're doing right now is key to the success that we're going to have in the fall.
Yep.
And just to hear that, we're almost at 100% attendance, that's big for me. That matters to me. Also, Brian Burns showed more than just his athleticism today. He snuffed out a reverse play. That shows you that he's not all about just rushing the passer. This guy has the IQ as well.
That takes discipline.
I was really excited about that. But just regular OTA stuff. It's good to see the guys running around. Good to see guys are taking in the playbook, learning every day. That way we can have a smooth transition when it comes to camp. But the biggest thing to me again was the leadership, man. Having guys present is more important than the average fan would understand.
I totally agree. I know all of us has been in a locker room at some point in time, and we can all think about somebody in that locker room that was significant, that brought us through as a team to overcome situations, to stick together and get over things. I know that's huge. That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look around the league, just one more point. The reason why I said I do that is because I look directly at our rivals. I live here in Atlanta. Their OTA's up in Flowery Branch. It's about 40 minutes from me. Julio Jones. He's not at OTAs. Yeah, he's not at OTAs. Grady Jarrett, who they franchise tagged, their best defensive lineman, he's not present at OTAs. Then you got Vic Beasley that had 2 disappointing seasons in a row. They picked up his 5th-year option. They're expecting him to, ball out so he can earn a contract. He's not present at OTAs either.
Wow.
So, only guys that are there is really Matt Ryan and Devontae Freeman as far as the leaders go. So I just look at around the league. I think that we have a continuity that separates us from everybody else. I'm just paying attention to what I see.
Do you think that continuity is resemblant of what happened the 2015-2016 season, Kevin?
Yeah, I definitely think it was. A lot's to be said, for leadership and chemistry. And as a guy that's been in the locker room where I was nervous and was around a bunch of strong leaders to eventually evolve and become a leader myself, I definitely know for a fact firsthand that's something that really matters and really does show up on the field. When you got that, saying that confidence in knowing that, hey, the guy beside me put in the time and the work to make sure he was prepared. That even when mistakes are made, you're going all out. And that once, adjustments are made, that somehow, some way, the team is going to come out on top. So I definitely think that we still have the core of what remained from the 2015-2016 season to definitely reinvent that and, see if we can finish this thing off this time. So I definitely agree with that.
Scott Turner, the quarterback's coach, was pounding the table for Will Grier. He went to his pro day at West Virginia, and they were really high on him. And that was the biggest reason why we drafted Will Grier. But when he did come out and say, Will Grier is going to have to earn that backup spot, and Heineke and Allen aren't going to give it up that easily. And if you remember last year, Heineke won that backup job. Kyle Allen is fresh in everybody's mind off that Week 17 performance, but in practice and training camp and all offseason, they got a good look at both guys. And Heineke was the last man standing and won that job. So, you can't count him out yet either. It's good to see him coming out and guns a-blazing, trying to protect his number 2 spot. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, there's another player flying around at OTAs, I believe it was today, if I'm not mistaken. Old Curtis Samuel, a.k.a. the Heartbreak Kid, flying around catching some deep balls. That was from Heineke, too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, sir.
Man, Kurt, we love you, man, but damn, son. You made the team, bro. Easy.
Yeah, you made the team. I don't need to see him diving for balls, mess around and crack a rib or something like that. It's still OTAs. It was supposed to be like a sped up walkthrough, man. Just 75%. Let that ball fly over your head next time. We'll wait till you make those plays in the preseason.
All right. Well, Panther fans, thanks once again for joining us for the 4-Man Rush podcast. This is your host, Timmy VO, with Kevin, Larry, and Will. Special shout out to the folks behind the scenes, our blog writers and our social media management, and of course to you, the Panther fans out there. Check us next time for episode 12, and as always, keep pounding. The Four-Man Rush is brought to you by the love and respect of and for the Carolina Panthers and Carolina Panther fans everywhere. Keep pounding. The Four-Man Rush is a non-affiliate of the Carolina Panther organization. All thoughts, assessments, and content of this podcast is directly related to the Four-Man Rush exclusively. Thank you.